This is my fourth video in a series where I start a brand new account on NIKKE that's entirely free to play with the intention of progressing as optimally as possible. This video is a significant one because I'm going to talk about how this 1 month old account is already past the 160 wall and steadily working its way towards NIKKE level 200. I'll also talk about the stretch goals for this account and how I'll prepare for them. So about that 160 wall. My strategy was to set up my wish list to maximize my chances of getting dupes of certain characters and then spend every single gem I got on the standard banner until the wall was broken. As I'm writing this script, the total amount of pulls I used consists of 220 unlimited banners, which were Summer Cinderella, Dorothy, and Marciana, and 423 standard banner pulls. My wish list was set up like this. For Elysian, I included Privity because all new accounts can get a free copy of her, and she's in the silver mileage shop rotation, and she has an extremely good favorite item. There's just no reason to not have Privity on the wish list. Next, I put Helm on there. Much like Privity, she has a very good favorite item, but she's not available in the silver mileage shop. However, she is available in the bonus recruit, which is even better. Then I put Diesel on here because I managed to get her to LB1 from featured banner pulls and molds. The fourth spot was just any Limit Break Zero NIKKE that I already had, but I prioritized someone I would use and that happened to be Made Mast. Tactical Vesti is my fifth pick because she's so strong and I'd rather have one copy of Vesti in the long run instead of putting another Limit Break Zero NIKKE on there. For Macilis, everyone should put Drake on here until they pull one copy of her. Road to Villain will get her to Limit Break 2, so you only need to pull one more copy from any source to get MLB Drake. Leader and Naga are on here because they're available from bonus recruit, and I did manage to pull copies of both of them. Ayn is just a really good Macilis unit, and I did manage to get 2 copies of her, so that's why she was on there. Then Flora was my last pick. I want to get her favorite item, and she's available for silver mileage at this point in time, so she was a good option to pick. When I got my 1 copy of Drake, I replaced her with Tia. Ideally, I think you'd want Tia, Naga, and Leader on here until you break the wall because they're all available for bonus recruit. For Tetra, I put Alice on here because she's available from bonus recruit and you can get a copy of her from Alice's diary. She's still a decent DPS unit too, so Alice has a guaranteed spot here. Soda is on here because I got 2 copies of her from molds back to back, which is kind of weird, but whatever. Mint, Rika, and Bunny Milk were all choices of meta characters that I wanted, and I happened to get them all. So they stayed on the list until I got my 5 MLB units. Pilgrims and Overspecs should always be filled with units you have yet to get. My one caveat is Neuta, but other than your waifu being on this part of the list, don't try to fish for dupes of these units. They're just far too rare. My 5 MLB units ended up being Helm, Privity, Drake, Leader, and Alice. All in all, I spent 2 bonus recruits on Helm, 1 on Leader, and 1 on Alice. I got 1 copy of Drake from the standard pulls, and I used the spare body capsule from reaching NIKKE level 141 on Privity, as well as 400 silver mileage. When you're at the wall, make sure you're doing all the content available to you for gems. The side quests, lost sectors, tower, and campaign stages all give a lot of gems. So the 160 wall is broken. Now what? Well, it's time to decide on what kind of content is most important to me so that I can focus on the characters I need for it. In order of importance to this account, I think campaign is the top priority, which includes manufacturer towers, then anomaly interception, then PvP, then solo raid. The units I need for campaign, towers, and interception all overlap a lot. PvP is an incredible source of gems, and I already do have more than a surface level understanding of the game mode. I am sitting in the top 10 for my server, and I think I can maintain this position as long as I don't let this account stagnate. But the gap between myself and the whales will rapidly grow. This is just the harsh reality of PvP in a gacha. As for solo raid, it's very easy to reach the challenge mode, so I'll have no issue receiving the bulk of the rewards. The difference in gems that you receive for each ranking isn't that significant, so I'll just do what I can and be okay with it. I don't really see the point in setting a goal on this account to seriously try and compete in solo raid. The upside of this decision is that it means I can skip a ton of banners, because most of them are units that only get used for solo raid. So now it's time to make another wish list. Much like how I thought it was interesting to make a wish list for my account when it was brand new, I find the experience of making it now to be just the same. And there's just so many units to choose from, so it can be difficult to come to a decision when you are a new player. So let's go back to Elysian. I already have the dupes of Privity and Helm that I need for their favorite item. I also have the maid duo. Tactical Vesty is already on there, so who else do I want? I'm going to throw Phantom on there for a couple of reasons. With her favorite item, she's actually very good for Elysian Tower, even if you have someone like Rappy Red Hood, and Helm, and Privity. As I said before, solo raid is not a high priority for me, but Phantom will be good for Water Week content. My third pick is going to be Tactical Unhwa. I think this unit is kind of underrated. The idea is that I can eventually use her with Treasure Flora and Tactical Vesty if I don't have Crown by that point. And even without Tactical Emma, Unhwa is able to give some very good buffs to Vesty. So what about putting Tactical Emma on there as well? Well, I'm going to do it, but mostly because there just aren't too many other units that I want that I don't have. The issue with Emma is that she doesn't have any cooldown reduction. So if you want to use the full Tactical Absolute Squad, you need another unit with CDR or another Burst 1. Regardless, the full Tactical Absolute Squad is a strong combo, and I could potentially see myself using all three of them. Now that brings me to the last spot. I'm actually going to put Label here. This is mainly a PvP choice. Some of the best compositions in Arena are electric, and having Label available gives me a great choice to counter that. She also has some really fringe use cases in PvE, but that's definitely not why I'm putting her on here. Other NIKKE considerations were Miranda for her treasure, but outside of solo raid, I don't think I'll use her much. D-Killer Wife was another consideration, but I do have a copy of her right now, and I did want to talk about her a bit. She's not the strongest burst 1 nowadays, especially not for Elysian, which really lacks sniper rifle units. And nowadays, D-Killer Wife is really only used as a CDR unit when you're using her in a composition with someone like Tactical Emma or Miranda, since they lack CDR. And then the same thing goes for Celine Frost Ticket. She's frequently just used as a CDR unit to make up for a lack of it. Now for Bacillus. Flora is staying on here because I think her favorite item is so good, especially for accounts that don't have Crown, like this one. Jackal is my next pick because she's a mainstay in a lot of PvP compositions, and now that I've picked Jackal, I realize we're already getting down to the bottom of the barrel for Bacillus. So next, I think I'll throw Tia on here just to be used in the Bacillus Tower until I get Treasure Flora. And then the next two units actually don't really matter too much because I'm going to put Laplace Ultimate Hero and Maxwell Ordinary Mechanic on here when they're available. I really do think both of these units are best in slot for Bacillus Tower, and they serve the double purpose of being good for Kraken as well, which makes me less reliant on pulling Scarlet Black Shadow and Liberalio. For now, I'll throw Trina and Quincy Escape Queen on here. Trina will be really good with Laplace Ultimate Hero, and she's also really good in PvP, and Quincy Escape Queen is a great DPS for Water Week content, and she's like the only water DPS available for Bacillus. Now it's time for Tetra. The Tetra roster is by far the most stacked one. There are so many good units here. I'm going to put Blanc on here because she's one of the best PvP units available, and Biscuit is going on here as well for the exact same reason. And Noise, and Rosanna, and Morin. Well, Morin is also on there because her favorite item is extremely useful for PvE as well. So all of my choices are mostly for PvP. The other 3 considerations were Rouge, Velvet, and Rumani. Rouge, I don't see myself using her anytime soon. Velvet will only really be used for Kraken, but there are plenty of other choices to substitute her with. And then Rumani is a really good PvP choice, but I think I'd rather have the others on my list before her. And then that brings us to the Pilgrim and Overspec wish list. On the list right now, I have Rappy Red Hood, Crown, Neuda, Scarlet Black Shadow, and Liberalia. But now that I look at it, I think I'm going to swap Liberalia and Scarlet Black Shadow for Cinderella and Neo Neon. Why? I need an electric DPS for all of the really annoying electric weak bosses in the campaign, like Behemoth and Mirror Container. Secondly, I think Scarlet Black Shadow and Liberalia's usefulness comes much later in the campaign and when I'm interested in pushing Kraken stages. So Neuda stays here for waifu reasons, and then Rappy Red Hood and Crown are here because they're the true goddesses of victory. Their power in all forms of PvE content is just unrivaled. So for now, that's the wishlist setup that I'm going for. One other short to long-term goal I have is to chip away at the Solo Raid Museum. If you're not familiar with the Solo Raid Museum, I'll have a video in the cards where I talk more about it. But anyways, the Solo Raid Museum, in addition to Road to Villain, will give me more maintenance kits than I'll realistically need at this point in my account, which means I can use them just for stat padding on my high value characters. I'm going to max the collection items for Star Anise and Snow White Heavy Arms. One mistake I made on my main was wasting maintenance kits on NIKKEs that didn't need them. And I also used them on characters I wasn't really ready to build. So I still have characters with max collection dolls and abysmal overload gear. You don't have to use these kits so sparingly, but leveling up a doll past SR5 should really only be done for meta DPS units and NIKKEs with favorite items. NIKKEs that scale well off of multiple stats like Cinderella and Laplace Ultimate Hero are also quite valuable to have maxed dolls on. And aside from that, I don't think there's a whole lot more to talk about since I feel like breaking the 160 wall is the end of the new player experience. For now, I'm not sure what other videos to make for this account. I could record clears of particularly difficult campaign stages and do some monthly progress updates if that's of interest to people. But otherwise, I do plan to keep up with this account just to get a different perspective on things. So if you have any ideas, feel free to let me know in the comments and I will take them into consideration. Anyways guys, that's gonna wrap up this video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!